In the land of ash and snow, known as Great Ice, a young man named Gill Sol has been chased from the capital for some reason. On northern Urchin Island, Gill uses his axe skills to work for the Lord Mela, but someone has come looking for him. Use your axe to defy destiny. The adventure of the Ice Boy now begins. And now I can welcome you to the first impression of the new Shonen Jump manga called Ice Head Gill. Let's take a look at the cover for it. So this is our protagonist. This is Gill. And this emblem that he's holding, that's also of high importance in this manga. So maybe there's something about that in the first 6 chapters. This new manga was written and drawn by Ikuo Hachiya, a yet unknown mangaka, at least for me. All I could find out about their past is a singular one-shot by the name of Seiryu no Magoi. As I never heard of that story before, it didn't help me in any way. I don't know if that author is good in writing, drawing or anything, so let's see it in the future. Simply looking at the art style of the cover, I almost thought this was the person behind Demon Slayer, as the boy, who I assume is Gill, or yes, it's Gill, heavily reminds me of Rengoku from Kimetsu no Yaiba. The summary alone is already setting up some mysteries. First of all, why was Gill chased from the capital? And then, what does it mean to defy destiny with your axe? A nice and short summary, throwing important ideas at us already. But let's go into a bit more details. In both the title, Ice Head, and the last part of the summary, Ice Boy, it's made more and more obvious that the protagonist has some connection to ice, which actually feels contradictory to his name. Not the Gill part, as that just means strong-willed protector or somebody with joy, but there are also negative connotations like servant. The part I want to talk about, however, is the soul, which we all have seen before as it means sun, S-O-L, not the soul with S-O-U-L. So all I want to say is somebody with the last name Sun being so heavily implied to be connected to ice is a bit odd. Considering the country or part of the world they live in is called Great Ice, another ice mention, I don't think it is too weird to theorize about the importance of ice and maybe Gill Sol melting it away at some point of the story. If he got chased away from the capital because of his past or maybe his fate, I do believe we have another chosen one in our hands right now. But enough about that. Just like always, I have put the link to this manga into the description down below. If you want to check it out yourself first, feel free to do so, because from here on out we will enter slight spoiler territory for the first 6 chapters of Ice Head Gill. I've talked about quite a few series now, and most of the times I always want to put the good points of a story into the spotlight, but that might be hard today. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm not feeling all that well, or if it's actually because of the story being not my cup of tea, but today, yeah, Ice Head Gill is not really my thing. The protagonist feels generic and pretty annoying already, but him being an axe user is something we don't see that often, so I want to give it a better chance. For the first few chapters, it was only trying to set up Gill as this overly nice and helpful boy. So you know the thing where a protagonist always wants to help everybody no matter how bad they are and always wants to see the best in them? Yeah, that's the kind of character Gill is. Even though some of the other characters we have seen so far in these chapters had unique designs and could have offered interesting point of views for the story, they were only relevant for 1 or at most 2 chapters. To say something good, the world building of this new Shonen Jump manga is quite well done so far, and the art style plus art quality are really high as well. However, these things are not enough to save this work from my harsh words. Multiple times did the author attempt to do comedic bits, but it did in fact not work out. It felt somewhat forced and awkward to me. Obviously, I can't say that it wasn't in character for Gill or the other characters we have seen, but the way it was written just felt, let's say, cold. And it's not just a pun because the entire story has to do with ice. I couldn't get the same feelings of emotions that I normally got so far with these new series. To make another comparison, the protagonist Gill Sol somewhat reminded me of Son Goku from Dragon Ball, specifically the original Dragon Ball. You might think that's a good comparison, right? Dragon Ball is incredibly famous and also a high-selling manga, but in this case it feels more like a copy that lost its charm. Gill doesn't bring the same light-hearted and simple humor as Goku did. You could even say Gill is Goku ordered from Wish, if you know that meme. In chapter 5 and 6, we met the first character who will probably join Gill's party and stay with him a bit longer. If I had to predict their character development, it is the classic asshole who wants to use the MC and then shifts over to become their best friend stereotype, or maybe even lover. However, romantic plots would certainly feel weird in the story, as the author decided to make Gill only 10 years old, and at that age, romance shouldn't be the focus of anything. So why does he need to be 10? If he was 16, 14 or anything, it would still work out quite as well, so why 10 years old? After 2 chapters, sometimes I can even call a character one of my favorites, but in this story I couldn't care less about them. I wish I did care, as I like the premise, and the story having a Norse vibe is also really cool, but the writing is lacking. And if I can say anything about the harsh world that is the Shonen Jump world, I would make a bet that this story won't last long. Unless the Japanese readers love it, as they are still the main market that gets looked at. As always, the English comments are predicting the same thing as me. But most people reading on Manga Plus throw out the term X or Xing quite casually. That means that the manga doesn't really get to continue and just gets cancelled quite quickly. Last but not least, I have 2 points left that need to be mentioned. First, the pacing, and then to round everything up, the antagonistic group. Okay, let me say it. The pacing is weird. It feels incredibly fast to get the story started, but then it goes on some awkward roller coaster to who knows where. It also doesn't help that some stuff said in the story almost seems to contradict stuff shown a bit later. I would say in terms of consistency, it's just lacking as well. But the fight scenes are really well drawn, even though I think the 10-year-old beating big tough guys is not fun anymore, and I would prefer if there was some bigger problem here. Now, the time has come for our antagonistic group, probably one of the most important parts of a story. It's the protagonist and then their antagonists. In I Said Gill, we'll fight against creatures known as liches. This is not even a real spoiler, as the first 2 chapters literally have them in their titles. These monsters seem to be the big bads of this universe, this story, but for some reason I don't feel threatened with what I have seen so far. Plus, I am still debating on how they are even in the human world to begin with, as the manga has stated multiple times how and when they will arrive. And it feels weird that it gets explained multiple times even though the liches are already in the world? It all is a bit odd, not even mentioning the fact that the summary literally lied as well. To finish it all up, let me say this. While I Said Gill wasn't for me, you personally might enjoy it a lot more. So if you like fast-paced stories with a protagonist who is already strong from the start, you should give this manga a try. Not even taking into account everything what I said. But that is all from me for today. All that's left to be said is stay healthy, stay happy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro, out. Bye!